And then you had the church. So talk to us a little bit about the church there, Kathorus Bible Church, where your dad's pastored 20 years, you told me. It's just amazing. And so so I visited this church and went to a service there. Dr. Bill Hines taught Sunday school, and then we were there in the service. And back then, I don't know if it's still the case, you can update me, but you guys met at a school, and you had to sweep out the schoolroom and set up all the chairs, and it was just precious. And then there was a break in the middle of it where there was one-on-one disciple making going on, where people would meet with their disciple maker and learn in the middle of the service, I think. And then you go back to the worship service, and there was a South African man who preached that Sunday, did a great job. And your dad, I know, disciples people, disciples men especially, and your mom's involved in that as well. And the culture there is one of building people up, growing them into Christ. So tell us a little bit about the church.
Sure. So just to update the situation, when the strict lockdowns happened, the schools are obviously government run and everything. And so we were kind of forced out of the school scenario because of lockdowns, but as were all the rest of the churches meeting in schools. And so during lockdown, what happened is we started actively looking for a piece of property, which we had been looking for 20 years, but we now saw that we needed something immediate if we were going to get out of the lockdown and be able to still meet somewhere. And so the Lord provided a piece of land about 5.5 acres. It's a farmland, and so it's 5.5 of completely usable property. And
how far away would you say it is from the school you were meeting at?
From the school, it's about a 20-minute drive, but the school wasn't completely central to the location which we ministered. This property is a little bit outside of the main area, but it's doable from all directions, and it's off of the major highway. So it's really not inconvenient for anybody to get there. So even though it's not centrally located, from a travel perspective, it's very accessible. And so we actually bought a tent that we put up every week. In fact, the guys at the Village Mercy residential house do that every single week for us. So that's one of the ways that they minister to us. And so no more sweeping of the room, but we've got to put up the tent and put up chairs and take things down. And then currently the men are residing at a 5-bedroom house that's about 5 minutes from the church property. And they store all of the stuff there for us. They bring it, they set it up, and they're actively involved. And that's a real blessing, I think, for them, but also obviously for the church to have them involved in that. My dad, as you said, is very, his main thrust in all of the ministry is that discipleship process, which obviously goes hand in hand with counseling, just being a more intensified type of discipleship. And so
he's got his master's in
Biblical-Counselling, Yep.
Not many pastors have that.
Yeah, and he's really integrating it into the church sermons and everything, which is, I think, how it's supposed to be done anyway. Not just counseling during the weekdays and then a sermon on. You have it right there built into the sermons on the Sundays, and it's really refreshing to hear the word that way. But then, as a result, the whole atmosphere of the church is discipling one another, and so it's not just the pastors and elders that are trying to teach and train and disciple everybody, but you've got everybody working together on that discipleship process. And what has happened very naturally, nobody had to actually say that this needed to happen, is that we got the residential men's program going. Some of the young men at the church were already getting together after Sunday services to meet and have some lunch and fellowship together, and they just automatically included the men at the residential house. And so they're getting fellowship with the other young men in the church very automatically, and getting discipleship that's not planned, it's not on the schedule, but now other people in the church are getting involved in that process, and it becomes a very
organic.
It's very organic.
I like that.
For sure.
Yeah. That's kind of how Jesus did it, didn't he?
Absolutely, yeah. No schedule. It was just.
It seems that way when we read the Bible. I'm sure he was a planner and scheduled too, but
he certainly was upset when they disrupted his sleep times in the middle of the storms. But yeah.